Welcome everybody to another episode of Remember Who You Really Are. We are hosted on Wave TV and it's another beautiful episode. We have with us Renee and Marcus, and today we are talking about wellness, how important it is in addition to our meditative practice or whatever practice, right, we are doing, how we have found in our lives, right, that is important, how we also, from maybe this love, created our wellness organization, right, the flower of the heart, and many more to come. So I want to start by giving you both, the opportunity to tell us a bit about your journey, right?
Okay.
And how that was, what brought you here, what brought you to the school, what brought you to wellness, and today the flower of the heart.
Okay. So I guess I'll start. My journey started with massage, which also is a very important wellness technique. You can do it on yourself or receive from other people. And that was a practice for me for many years, which led me to school for Ayurveda. So I became an Ayurvedic practitioner, and part of that was incorporating meditation. So Marcus and I together really started looking for a teacher, an organization that was from the heart, that really incorporated the heart teachings and brought some meditation techniques that worked. And we started taking the trainings, and I found that, or what I felt like was that I finally found what I had been looking for.
Yeah.
So I finally found what I'd been looking for.
And for me, I had a little bit of a different experience with all of it. My background is entrepreneurialism, and 18 years into owning a company, actually at about year 14, the stress really got to me, and I had a meditation practice, but it was 15 minutes a day, and was really, that was the extent of it for many years. And I had kind of reached a point where I didn't realize that I was depressed and anxious, and got to a place in my life where I knew that I needed to change, and started going down a path of deeper meditation and plant medicine, and came out the other side not really looking for the heart, and realizing that that's really what I was looking for. I didn't realize that that's what was missing, but I feel that I feel home. I feel like I found a home in the School of the Heart, and helping people connect, and yeah, my life was filled with addiction, and it was a challenge owning a large company, and just being on the hot seat every day. And this has more than anything helped me kind of find my balance and find my center, and be able to move forward in a really good way, balanced way. Yeah.
It's funny how, different journeys, like sometimes people think, you've been through similar experiences, but then how different our journeys were, and at the same time arriving, where we are today, or doing what we are today. And what I think, like for me, with the flower of the heart, and with anything wellness, I was always looking for stuff to, I think when you start being more conscious, right, about yourself, starting your inner journey, right, you start also taking care of your body in different ways. So you always look for, what's the best that I can use? What's that thing that I love? What's the thing that I love and I'm going to use? And then if you can, share it with the world, because I think it's difficult today finding beautiful products the way maybe that you like them or you have them, designed in your mind or in your heart, to resonate with that kind of energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I know that there are, because we've been talking for many days now together, the practices, right? Or what's important, like in our journey, what's important. And I know, Renee, we were talking earlier about, you said certain things that you found that are important for you in your daily life. Or
yes, absolutely. So for me, in my daily life, the grounding really was the thing that has, now when I look back, comes to the forefront. The getting my getting my feet on the earth every day, or as many days as possible, being in nature and really pulling in that energy. It makes me feel really alive. I can feel my vibration rise. The other thing that's really important to me, and it has to do with the circadian rhythms or the rhythms of Mother Nature and the seasons, is eating food that's grown locally to where I am. So even if I'm traveling, I try to find a local farmer's market or a local market that may bring in some things from some farms, and try to eat that way. And and then you're automatically getting what's in season. And one of the principles of Ayurveda is that whatever is grown in that season has the antidote for that season. So if you have, let's say for an example, spinach that's being grown in the springtime, and you have a very rainy season, the spinach gives you properties that help counteract all of that humidity and the rain. And so if you're eating what's local to wherever you are, even if you're traveling, it's not where you live, you're eating still locally, it's giving you the qualities in the food, in the fruits and the vegetables that help counteract the heat or the humidity or the coldness or the dryness, whatever is happening in that season.
One of our farmers told us something really interesting, and I'll let you tell it, about kale and being sweet and bitter. In the fall, it's bitter.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we were talking to one of our farmers at the local farmers market, and she was telling us, get the kale right now, buy the kale because it's so sweet. We had a frost last week, and when the frost hits the kale, it turns it sweet. And there's, I guess, something, I didn't go further, but in my mind, I understood it. There's something, the plant produces more sugar to help protect itself against the frost. And then I was like, of course we're going to get the kale, because we also were experiencing the cold. We weren't out in it as much, but it takes a toll on your body. So we want that kale that has the antidote. And then when the kale is coming in the springtime, it's very bitter. It's very dry and bitter and a little more tough. And that's perfect for that season, because we have a lot of places in the springtime. It's considered the mud season. So it's very cool and damp, and you want something to dry that out. And so the bitter and the toughness of the kale help to counteract that. So it was really fascinating.
It's beautiful how everything, it's so intelligently designed, right? The earth, whatever grows, it so beautifully balances yourself, right? And then unfortunately we've created this idea that, I don't know, we want certain things that are not in season, so we have to import, or we have to have them all year round, right? So most of the people without knowing this stuff, how important it is, right?
Exactly.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but yesterday I heard you talking about something. It was the biodynamics, which I think is interesting, because I didn't know much about it. Besides when we start researching some stuff, but I think it's just so interesting to get the idea of. I think it complements what we've been talking.
Yeah, totally. For me, my background being gardening, landscaping, came to realize that there is a soil food web that's alive in the soil, and we have a similar food web alive in our microbiome. And most people don't realize the importance of taking food one step further, which is really the ultimate is growing it yourself, growing food yourself as much as possible, being able to really impart that your energy into that plant, love the plant so that it can love you when it feeds you. And the work of Rudolf Steiner in biodynamics, if you're going to buy food from a farmer's market, always search out the biodynamic farmers, because they're the ones that are taking the farm as a complete organism and looking at it homeopathically, energetically. A lot of organic farms, because it's become such a mass produced item, are needing to fertilize the soil still with factory farm ingredients, like the bone meals and the blood meals, and energy that's not really high vibration. Even though it's organic, people think, oh, it's organic, it's great. Most industrial farmed organic is not there, and it definitely is going to the benefits of organic or biodynamic over organic is that it's the next step. They're really cultivating that soil food web with composts and with animal manures to feed the plant. And really, the key with any food that we eat, we want to be able to feed that plant from the soil. Industrial agriculture is really trying to feed the plant directly. And organics, definitely, if all you can get organic is fine, because they've looked at how to feed the microbiology in the soil with all the fertilizers and that sort of thing. But you really want to look to cultivate that soil, because it's that soil that's going to feed us. And really it's that return back to the earth that we get the most nutrients living from that soil.
Absolutely.
That's so interesting. Do you find that there is many farms that do this today or growing?
There are, yeah. Across Europe, it's really big. In the States, you can find it pretty often. The certification for biodynamics is Demeter. So you look for the Demeter symbol. And I know that before Amazon bought Whole Foods, they were really making a push for Demeter certified. I don't know so much after the fact, but really the question, really the most important thing, if you don't grow it yourself, is to know your farmer and asking your farmer, what do you use to fertilize your soil? If they say compost and compost tea and humates and that sort of thing, great. If they say, meat meal, bone meal, blood meal, that they maybe are doing it organically, they're doing it naturally, they're maybe not spraying the synthetics, but it's, searching out and knowing your farmer and asking them questions is really the most important part.
Yeah. And so then the next thing, and I wanted to add this because this is very important, one reason why, Ayurvedic medicine and other forms of health and wellness talk about eating within the season is that you do get the microorganisms feeding that plant, which feeds your own microbiome, just like Marcus said, and then that also helps you work well within that season. So it keeps a healthy microbiome.
It's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
So connecting with our community, and I think that's a beautiful thing, right? Connecting with community, connecting with our farmers, connecting with, where do we source, what do we do, how do we use it? And it's been one of our, research projects in the Flower of the Heart, researching everything that we get in, right? Where do we get it? How is it created? How is it processed? And getting the best that we can get, right? To be able to offer it to people in the highest frequency of vibration.
Absolutely. When I was looking for our two hemp farms, that was a big thing, and I did a lot of research and went through a very long list of organic. They're organic. They're not spraying the hemp, but some of the things that we all found were important were outdoor grown. being fed by the sunshine, the rain, hopefully spring water that's on the property, hand harvested. So this microbiome is gently handled and not churned up in a machine, which then gives, gets some of the bugs and the other wildlife that are living within the kind of forest of the hemp. And so this increases the quality. We get a higher vibrational quality to have something that's hand-picked, handled by the farmer and his helpers, yeah.
I'm going to hold the mic because
absolutely.
I think with the sounds around us, maybe you can't hear us properly. And it comes to like in a different, today we have all this mass production, right? So the goal is to do as many as possible, as cheap as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've had people ask me, okay, why is something, more expensive, or why? So coming back to that, it takes much more effort, right, for the farmer to grow the product.
Absolutely.
You're hands-on. It's a lot of work. I mean, I think we've forgotten, because everything has been so fast-paced, how it used to be, which was, I don't know, maybe less than 100 years ago.
100 years ago. Yeah.
How long it took for everything to be done, right? And how appreciative we were for that little thing that Earth,
Right.
gave us, and we would use it, and nurture it and all this stuff. Now we're like quantity,
low price,
Yeah.
and it really costs us in the long term, with everything we put into our bodies from the earth. And if we're trying to get low cost, high quantity, it really depletes what we really could be getting from the earth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the convenience, and that's something that we've really gotten used to, the convenience. And, one of the things that Marcus said that we find very important is to grow something for yourself. Even if you're in an apartment, get a small pot, grow a basil plant. Give that plant love. It will give you back love. It just connects you to a living thing that nourishes you. And it really is, in some ways it's nice to be able to pop into a grocery store and buy some bananas and when it's 30 degrees outside, but bananas don't grow in that area. And so it is also, I think, wise of us as human beings to start to remember the quality and the what it takes to nurture something that is high vibration, the effort of the farmer, the time that it takes. If they have a drought that year, and so then they're relying on the previous year, or the next year they're having to skip that whole year.
And things like the mechanization of farming, industrial agriculture is high equipment use, and so it's not a touch from the, it's not that energetic feel from the farmer. It's just a machine that's growing the food, and that makes all the difference in the world whenever food is harvested, or hemp is harvested by hand, or is cultivated by hand and touched and cared for. That's the vibration.
So that's what we've all talked about many, many times, looking for wellness products that make a difference for people. They're not going to be the most convenient or the cheapest, but we're looking for something that holds that high vibration, that actually brings something beautiful to someone's life who may be cultivating a meditation practice, or cultivating a prayer practice, or cultivating a yoga practice, something that assists them, gives them something.
True. Yeah, it's and I know you both have your own, your practices. So it's also important, like, you don't use something to replace your personal practice.
Absolutely.
Everything is at the same time. You can, how to say, benefit or add on your own journey, right? Your inner journey, your practice, with things that are going to make you feel better, right? with food that's going to make you feel better, with products that are going to, are going to resonate with your body and everything. And I know your practices are very, disciplined as well, and very nice. So I wanted to ask you in this sense as well, how have you found that kind of practices in your life and the influence in your life?
Yeah, I think, so one of the things that came to me while you're speaking is, and one of the things I feel like I've learned from you, Agatha, and thank you, is this, I have a background of, I can do anything the same every day, very regimented, which can also be rigid. And, something that I'm actually working with right now is teaching my body to wake up when it's ready to wake up and not setting an alarm. And so we both have very similar practices, but they look completely different. And we don't do that. We might do some at the same time, but
we used to do a lot of the same stuff together, but then we finally realized it's not
something that's
going to work for both of us.
Yeah, something that works to do longer for me, Marcus does shorter, or vice versa. And so for me, waking up and really checking in with myself to find what is appropriate for that day. So some days it might be heart imagery. Some days it might be the Tibetan cleanings. Maybe I've had a dream that has brought up an old memory of an old situation. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not really upset about that. I'm not having emotions, but it came up for a reason. I can clean that and let that go. And so maybe I'm working on that day, or a yoga practice, a longer yoga practice, or a shorter yoga practice, depending, on what that day brings to me. And so for me, it's been really beautiful to learn to listen to what is being called for that day and not being attached to it looking a certain way every day. And then, incorporating what I consider to be a very high vibrational CBD product in with that practice, and just using that, working with that energy in my meditation or my yoga or my prayers, along with the harmony card, and just using these different things. And I find that they do bring a different. They bring a teaching themselves, they bring a different quality that I didn't have already, Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, the work of my practice, again, was very regimented in the beginning, very rigid, just got to sit in meditation and do it. And now it's being able to take that more feminine approach of listening to the body. If it needs to sleep a little bit more that day, I let it sleep a little bit more that day, and that's part of the practice, and really mixing in the movement of the body, the balance, because for me it's been about coming back to center. In our chaotic world, it's so easy to get pulled over here and over there and all over the place, but it's about bringing the mind back to center and seeing who it is that's watching. And the practice of cleaning the emotional body has been so critical, and really looking at all three of the bodies, emotional, mental, and physical, to see what can be done on each one. And on the physical, the wellness is really super important. On the mental, meditation is very important for both mental and emotional, and really beginning to still that the monkey mind, and take a break from the chaos that's going on out there, and really going deep inside to the heart, where we bring in the light, and it's a beautiful journey. It's a journey that, for me, I started out really chasing after these like abilities, and realizing that maybe that wasn't that it's not where we need to be focused. We need to be focused on our connection and communion with God every day, and I wanted to be able to see with my eyes closed, and see into the Akashic records and all that, and it's beautiful, and those skills come over time, but it's it's about staying consistent, staying in the center, watching where the mind wants to be, where the emotions are coming and going, and yeah, it's a beautiful practice.
Have you found that, because you have, the business, right? So you're running a business. So have you found that it has changed you in that, your attitude in that, your perspective in that, and the way that, you do things, or seeing yourself in that? I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, for me, it changed dramatically my work in the company, with Gardens of Babylon. My first love, my first business. That our mission is to connect people back to the natural world, and really the vision came alive after I got quiet and listened to the direction that I was being provided, and it's in business, at work, the practice really starts to shine. Being able to listen to somebody without sitting there and listening to the mind go, being able to be fully present with somebody in a meeting or one-on-one, so that we don't just get taken down the rabbit hole and kind of half listen. I think for me, I was a good half listener for many years, and she could probably tell you that.
I wasn't going to say anything.
But you're listening to the mind like clamor on, and we just don't realize what we're focused on. But I think the practice has really helped me kind of center and bring a more present quality, a more focused quality to my daily practice at work, and seeing work as a meditation. And Daniel's always really helped me remember that, whatever you're doing, you want to be in your heart while you're doing it, because you could, if you're not happy with it, it's bringing it back to center, realizing that it's you in the present moment, being with that moment, and everything kind of just starts coming together. The company started taking off several years ago after I started getting in the flow more and maintaining that still space. It's amazing to see what comes. Opportunities coming your way, and the right people start showing up, and yeah, it definitely is the best way that I've found, is to continue that practice. Becoming still and being able to be fully present with whatever it is that you're doing, be working on the computer or being in a meeting or meeting with a client. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I was talking with Billy in the last episode, and it was how to do business from the heart, right? And it's like I'm hearing again the same thing, in a sense of when you are in that space, everything comes to you, everything changes, the right people come to you, and it's so beautiful to understand, or to realize in a way that it's not about what's going on outside, but it's about where you are internally. And then when you're in that space, right, when you're in the heart, when you're in this peace and balance, everything will show up, right, because it's the right moment. And they will bring you, or they're going to help you to realize, whatever it is that, you're trying to bring forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it has shifted our relationship. It is really amazing for both of us, doing our practice and cultivating this part of ourselves and getting in touch with the heart. It has shifted our relationship in a really beautiful way. And I think if we had set out to shift our relationship, we wouldn't have gotten that. We both were looking to connect deeper within ourselves first,
Exactly. And then it brought the byproduct, right?
The byproduct.
Your
absolutely.
relationships become so much better. And I guess, and it's interesting you bring it up. I was reading these days, it was on the news or somewhere, that January is like a huge month of divorces, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, this January. So I guess with COVID happening, with people staying home, and with spending like 24 hours with each other, right?
Uh-huh.
Just brings up, you know, all the challenges that you might be facing in a relationship.
For sure.
And it's so interesting that, I mean, every relationship has its challenges.
Of course.
But going inside and then seeing that and how the relationship changes and how the interaction, the communication actually changes, right?
Mhm.
Yes, it's been a really beautiful thing to experience, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because it was challenging. You know, people speak of how marriage can be a little bit of a rocky road, and for us it was. And it wasn't until we came back to our center, you know, and found that space that things became coming alive. And it's really sweet, and you know, you really get to experience love and compassion and joy with your partner.
Yeah. Get so many, you know, sometimes people say, you know, it's not in just a marriage, but any kind of relationship, you know, it's is this person's fault or is that person's fault? And you have to bring them back to, you know, it's inside. It's not people's fault. I mean, people do what they feel is right? The journey is your own journey, right?
Exactly.
You can't change them, right? You can only do your job, and then your job will actually change your perception of everything else.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that again, that is also a journey, right? Realizing that and connecting with that, and yeah, it's just, I find that everything is connected in the meditative, in the prayer, in everything, in wellness, right? It's holistic. It's a holistic experience. You can't exclude something.
Yeah, you can.
Exactly.
For sure.
Like you can't, I find, maybe people can. Like I couldn't start this journey inwards and then use the, I don't know, the most commercial, non-ethically created products on myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So it didn't.
I do feel that the mindful, like the byproduct and what I noticed, what started to happen as I started to focus inward, and then I started to just notice what was around me more.
Yeah.
And not that I can visually see the vibration, but I can feel a vibration of a product, of a piece of fruit, it just somehow shines more to me.
Yeah.
It stands out more. And I started to desire to want to, you know, choose more ethically sourced products, you know, whether it's a piece of fruit or a CBD oil. You know, I noticed I just wanted more of the quality instead of a quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having less. You've been doing this
Having less.
cleaning.
Yes. So for 2 years, Marcus and I, we read
Which is very nice.
the life-changing magic, or the life-changing magic of, is that it? The life-changing magic of tidying?
Yeah, I think so. Something
Is
like
that,
that. Yeah.
Marie Kondo. And we got really into it because it was right at this time when we were learning these to work in the heart and doing some. We also had done some plant medicine, and this idea of cleaning
Yeah.
was really new to us. And we were like, oh, we're cleaning these this past and these emotions, and we got to clean our house too. We got to clean our cars. We got to clean our shoe closet, you know, and it's been amazing. And you know, when we go home in a month or two this spring, we're going to do more.
Yeah.
And having less, it feels really nice. Feels like
Spacious.
very spacious and less of a burden.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea of travel light, be the light, you know, it feels that. Like it just, there's less to catch my attention. I can stay inward focused more.
Yeah. It's we've moved a lot the last couple of years. Every time that you move, you know, you have to go through everything that you have and clean out. And it's amazing how much we accumulate, right? And then I remember when we were moving, and we took some stuff with us that we could take, and we had the others shipped. And we could live a very happy life without all the boxes that, you know, were coming. And it's like wow, you know, I really don't need much. I really should not, you know, accumulate so many stuff. Few nice, same with the food, like not much. Enjoy quality, right? What you're doing, any product that you're using. Yeah, and I get, yeah, it's I find that more and more important.
Absolutely.
As things slow down up here, the clutter starts to kind of get relieved and cleaned, and it's really been interesting for me watching it kind of happen in the physical.
Yeah.
On the mental level, stilling, and the physical also, just kind of things just go, and it's coming back to center and realizing that the things that we've brought with us or bought or needed really aren't needed,
Exactly.
Yeah. And that does also reflect in our food. I feel like we eat less than we used to a couple of years ago. And, when I prepare the food or we get ready to eat, I always keep this idea of like the bowl full of food. Like that's the size of our stomach, and each one is different because we have different size hands, but this much food, is enough, Yeah, there's this Japanese, I believe it's a Japanese philosophy, eat until you're 80% full. And I forget the Japanese term, but it's really beautiful. I have that runs a lot too. Eat till you're 80% full.
It's we were talking about yesterday, I think you were saying something, we were at the table eating. It's like when you eat slowly and mindfully, you really realize you're fuller, but, faster than you're eating, and then suddenly you realize like, oh, I ate too much.
Yeah.
So you give your time to yourself to slowly understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
We appreciate Awake TV for hosting us here and having Flower of the Heart featured. To say thank you for everyone who's watching, we would like to give a 10% discount with the code AWAKE, AWAKE.
We're going to write it down in the description of the video as well. So I think it's what we were saying, right? It's an opportunity for us to bring things that we love, philosophies that we share,
absolutely,
right? Practices that we love, and enhance these practices with stuff that we find around the world that are actually beneficial for us and that you might like. So we would love, it's a very a beautiful, discount code if you want to take a look at the Flower of the Heart and try any of the products that we have there. See how you feel and how you resonate with them. The other thing that we didn't mention is that they're quantum infused. So
yes, so we quantum infuse each product for at least 72 hours in our heart Merkaba. So we have this quantum energy field that it sits minimum 72 hours. Some products are there longer. We just store the products there.
In there.
And so we've actually tested. It raises the vibration even more than what it started out, which is really beautiful, and we feel really good about that. And we feel that it makes our products higher vibration and very special.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to bring to the world.
Yeah, it's with all our love.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from our hearts to your heart.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.